Guys, what is going on? I am Matt and I am back for another Australian Survivor 2017 interview, this time with Peter. Now, Peter finished third, but we didn't get to see a lot of his game, so myself and Peter go really in depth today in regards to how he played his game, what we missed on our screens, and it's funny because after talking to so many contestants, Peter was one of the best players out there this season from everything I've heard. So it's going to be a lot of fun, I think, to hear about how he played, why he thinks maybe he got the edit he did, and just go right into it. Now, we are going to do a few more interviews over the next few weeks, so be sure to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, on YouTube, subscribe, just so you can see those videos when they come up. But on Twitter, I'll be shouting out when I want some questions for these as well. You're going to get a chance to have some of your questions answered too. But for now, let's chat to Peter. I hope you guys enjoyed this conversation just as much as I did. So guys, what is going on? We are now joined with top 3 finishing, completely under the radar, super fan, Peter from Australian Survivor 2017. Peter, thank you so much for joining me, mate.
Thanks for having me, Matt.
And how's it all been, mate, since the show? Just aired, you've just watched it all back. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling alright. I feel like there's a lot I'm ready to explain. So, please don't hold back.
I won't at all. So, I guess that's one of the things, isn't it? I mean, your season this year, we've had a lot of really big players, which has mean, I guess, guys like yourself maybe haven't had as much airtime as what you maybe would have expected. So, I guess that does mean that after your game has finished airing, you now have a chance to kind of explain what actually happened for you out there. Is that kind of how you're feeling right now?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm ready to start on whatever you want.
Cool. So let's get to the last couple of days then. So you were obviously really close in that last challenge to actually winning that challenge. Had you thought at that time, I guess, who you would have taken to the final 2 if you did win that challenge?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, for me, it was a no-brainer. I would have taken Tara. I simply believe she would have been easier to beat. I believe it could have gone either way had I taken Jericho. Jericho kind of bombed a little bit in the final tribal council. I feel like had he bombed that same way against me, I feel like I could have beaten him. But I do think Tara was a much easier option to beat at the end, and I would have taken Tara over Jericho.
Yeah, well, that is the thing with the final tribal, I think. You do find people that maybe aren't used to speaking in public or maybe aren't as adequate, that they don't do particularly well at that last tribal. And last year we kind of had a similar sort of situation where Lee really struggled for some reason, whereas you, I think, probably out of the top 3 seem to be the most well-spoken contestant possibly. So is that something that you think would have helped you in that last tribal?
Absolutely. I think I came away from that final tribal having heard them both, and I was quite disappointed, to be honest, from my perspective, with both of them. Tara was very open and honest, and I really appreciate that, but I don't think she really sold her game. There were things she could have taken credit for that she didn't, and overall I just felt it was a little bit lackluster. At the same time, Jericho kind of tried to sell his game, but as you know, Sarah kind of pointed out, he really contradicted himself quite a lot, and there were things he did that felt, well, for me, isolated me a little bit as a jury member and really made me not want to give him my vote. So I do feel like they both dropped the ball a little bit in that final tribal, but I do think overall Jericho was the better player. And even though he didn't get my vote, I don't think he necessarily deserved my vote because he didn't do anything to really grab it, but I do think he did deserve to win overall.
Okay, right. So you say he deserves to win, but then you don't vote for him. So what was the reasoning, I guess, behind you then deciding he wasn't, I guess, your winner? Might have been maybe the reason.
Well, I think jury management is a huge part of the game. And Jericho, I think he was trying to be cheeky, but potentially just went a little bit too far. When he voted Michelle out the final 4, he kind of did a little dance behind my back that I had no idea about. And then when he voted me out the final 3, he sung Bar Bar Black Sheep loud enough for the jury to hear, but not loud enough for me to hear. And I found out about this after when I was voted out. And Jericho was given a few occasions to apologize for this in the final tribal council. You don't see it, but he was, and he kind of refused to. And in my mind, I was like, jury imagine is a huge part of the show. And if you haven't made an attempt to get my vote, and then you don't deserve my vote. So, although he may have been the better player overall, and I do think he did deserve to win, I don't think he deserved to win with the help of my vote.
Isn't it amazing how much they do and don't show on this show? I mean, those couple of moments right there would instantly paint, I guess, Jericho potentially in a different light if they did decide to show them. They choose not to. He ends up winning, and then I guess we don't know why that's the case and why maybe you didn't vote for him until you actually get a chance to have this conversation, which is really strange, I think, how that plays out sometimes.
I do want to reiterate, I don't think Jericho meant to do this out of malice. I just think he wasn't thinking at the time. I really do think that. I just don't think he considered it that well.
One thing I always say is when you're playing a game that's 55 days long and you're being filmed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, there are always going to be moments at some point where we all do something or say something we regret and didn't come off the way we intended it to come across as. And perhaps that was that same sort of situation, I guess, with those couple of moments you just mentioned there. So
Very true. It's very easy to get caught in the heat of the moment, especially, I've obviously been gunning for Jericho, emotions come into play, you're starving, you're hungry. There's a lot of things to consider.
You say stuff. So if you were to take Tara to the end, had you thought about maybe what your speech would have been or how you would have actually spoken about your game and how you would have beaten Tara?
Absolutely. This is going to sound bad. I don't think it would have been too difficult to beat Tara.
Yep.
Love her. There are a lot of things in this game that I think I did that were really good. I would have argued, firstly, my involvement in the Amy blind side. I know it looks like I was a swing vote. In reality, I was not a swing vote. I was a much more integrated part of that blind side and was really on board. And I think something to consider as well is that we were a tribe of 9, and I basically switched from working with 4 people to working with a completely different 4 people. To do that, I had to have good relationships with every single person in the tribe at that time. And, I kind of went from a strong alliance to another really strong alliance. And to Summertown 5, that worked for me so well and really set up my game. So I feel like that was something big. That was something that set me up. I also feel like in the mutiny, the tribe swap, fighting my way through that, you don't see me doing a lot, but I really was always strategizing and trying to find a way forward. I kind of knew Jericho and Luke wanted me out and were leading me on. I knew I had to put my trust in Sarah. I think there was a time there where I just had so many strategy chats. I talked with Sarah 4 times that day. I talked with Luke twice, Jericho 2 or 3 times, Jet twice. And I literally got to confessions and I just was so overwhelmed that I just broke down. And then I kind of brought it back together. And I do believe in that tribal before the mutiny, it was Sarah, myself, and Tara said she was on board with us, and she's also said she wasn't on board with us at different times. But I believe she would have been with us. We were actually voting Odette that night. And I do believe it would have been a 3-3 tie between Odette and myself, and we would have got Jericho to come over on the revote once Jericho was certain we were not voting for Luke. So I think I could have argued that really well and survivability. And also that mutinying was the best option for me. It really set me up and put me back in a power position on Summertown. I think I could have argued that I was a player who really did own my game. And although I didn't boast about things that I did, I always had my own game to play and really had my own game at heart. I think, when I had my alliance that I really trusted, I never backstabbed them. I loved working with the Summertown 5. I adored them. And I wanted to go to the end and, really fight with them. But when things didn't go right, or didn't go the way I wanted, I always made at least an attempt to get things back on side. With the Annalise, trying to save Annalise, it was an attempt. I was part of the Henry blind side, which was really good. Once Tessa left, I really owned my game. They don't show it very well, but I was very much a swing vote behind Luke or Ziggy. And once Tessa left, I very much navigated my way through the game from a standpoint of necessity, trying to make sure everybody needed my vote because, to be honest, nobody really had a reason to want me there. My loyalties were really cut with the players that were left.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that is quite impressive, navigating through from 8 to, if I had made it to the final 2, without really an alliance or any kind of strong ally. And, as I said, the Luke, I was, Michelle wants me to come board Ziggy. I knew Luke was better for my game, and I stuck to that. I wouldn't let people sway me. I was very much led the charge in trying to get Ziggy out of the 6, and wouldn't let people sway me. I very much wanted Locky go on the 5, wouldn't let people sway me. I was pretty persistent in gunning for Jericho at the 4. Didn't work out, but had it worked out, it would have set me up to hopefully win that final challenge and get to the end. And I think had that all fallen into place, I think that would have been a really, really strong kind of, story to sell at the final tribal.
It's such a strong resume, I think, of moves or even attempted moves or plays or whatever it might be that you could use. So I guess, hearing all of this and then also talking to other players, and whenever you're mentioned, we always hear about how smart you are and how social you are and how strategic you are. But I think it's fair to say, and I'm not sure if you agree with this, but the edit didn't show that as much as maybe we're hearing. So why do you think that's the case? Because, I think as an audience, we've missed so much from your game, which I think we all would have loved.
Yeah, look, I wish I knew the answer to this. It's something I've been trying to figure out myself. I do partly believe that I just wasn't, I didn't boast. I wasn't a loud character on the show. I very much, part of my strategy was not to boast about everything I did and to keep it kind of hidden because I didn't want to paint a target on my back. And I was very aware that, the kind of the reputation you build in the game can very much determine how far you go. But we learned that from AK quite early on. Amazing player, but once he built up that reputation as being a big game player, everyone targeted him, and he very much became the shield for the Summer Tower 5. To be honest, I wish I knew the exact reasoning why. I feel like they really could have given me a strong underdog edit. For whatever reason, they chose not to. Bigger players, maybe they wanted to highlight the final 2, and as a third placer, potentially my stories are not as important. So, it's hard. I wish I knew.
It's really difficult, and I think Elle went through, I guess, a kind of similar thing last year, where everyone you would speak to would say the exact same things they're saying about you, and it's really disappointing as fans of the show to have someone who speaks so well and plays such a great game, and then we don't get to see it. But I think being able to have these sort of conversations and doing podcasts and videos and this kind of stuff, as we said before, I think that totally helps people to understand who you actually are as a person. And I think there is such a fine balance.
I'm so excited just to be able to explain my game.
There's such a fine balance, I think, when you're out there playing the game, when you're stuck between making a TV show and playing the best game you possibly can. And sometimes those things don't correlate. You see guys like Luke and your Henrys and your AKs that played such big games and at times really, really smart games. But as you said before, they were boastful, they were loud about it. It doesn't always work very well to play that way. And I know before you went into the game, one of your pre-game quotes was that you were going to go out there, lay low, gain people's trust, and hide your louder side until the merge came, and then that's when you were going to strike. You definitely did that. You definitely laid low, you gained people's trust, and you made the right moves. Did your loud side ever come out, you think, when you hit the merge, or did you have to change that plan that you'd gone on with?
It is tricky to say, because as soon as I hit the merge, all my alliance just got destroyed, kind of, and it was so... I was so sad, I loved working with Jared. We used to wake up in the middle of the night and strategize. I loved working with Tessa, Annalise, Ziggy, AK. I just adored working with these people. And when they all left, I did feel quite lonely in the game. It's hard to explain, but the people on Survivor are your life. They're your entire social network for that period of time. And when they're gone, when they're no longer in the game, I did feel a little bit lonely, especially once Tessa was gone. I felt like I didn't really have anyone I felt really that strong with left. I still had Locky in there, still had a few other people in there that were frustrating to deal with. I was like, oh my God. But it was difficult.
Well, I think that you've touched on Tessa and your friendship, and I think your two friendship was one of the tightest, I think, in across the whole game. How did that friendship come about? How did you feel, especially when she was voted off the jury as well? I assume that would have probably been fairly hard for you to see as well.
It was very difficult. When she was voted for jury, I felt like I think my consolation, even when Tess was voting out, she kind of gave me her jumper, and I put that on the bamboo, and it cushioned the blow of the bamboo, so I was sleeping a bit more comfortable. And I'd see Tessa every tribal, and we'd just give a little smile to each other. It was no secret we were so close; it didn't really matter. And then when Jericho voted off the jury, I was absolutely crushed. I was like devastated, but I kind of understood why he would. I think maybe it doesn't come across in the edit, but I think he kind of thought he would already beat Tarrant no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, he didn't know if he would end up in the final against me. And the best way to weaken me at that stage was to take out Tessa. And even with Tessa taken out, he still didn't take me to the end. And I think that kind of speaks volumes as well. So, yeah, it's tricky. Tessa and I guess we just clicked in so many levels. We always were on the same page. We were both quite rational and logical in the way we thought about things. We would discuss things for hours, what other people's motives were, how we were going to navigate our way through. We never really expected Luke and Jericho and Sarah and Michelle to take us too much further, so we were kind of figuring how we would, break away after we got Locky out. Of course, they turned on that vote. I just think we were just so on the same page. On the Henry blind side, Tessa came back from the reward, and we were just so excited to see and work with each other again. We were like jumping up and down the jungle, running, we were hugging, we were like, we're just having the best time running through the pouring rain in the jungle. Like, it's ridiculous, but we had such a tight bond and such a tight friendship, and it was, when you have that out there, it is quite special. You don't get that much. And, I had an amazing relationship with Jared as well. Jared's so intelligent, and Jared also deserved a much, much better edit. Yeah. He used to do hilarious things. Like, he came up to me and was like, Peter, I'm just letting you know, like, AK might talk to you a lot about, like, family because he doesn't fully trust you. And then he would go to AK and he'll be like, AK, you just got to talk to Peter a lot about family because I'll make him trust you more. And so it's like subtly pitting us against each other, even though me and AK still talk quite a bit of strategy, but like it was just hilarious. Like Jared was so smart and everyone thought they had the little click with him.
It's ridiculous. And everyone has said, I think so far, the one person they trusted out there was Jared. In every single conversation I've had, it is always the case. And, I mean, I've known Jared for a little while now, and he is such a great guy, and he's, as you said, he's so smart, and you can definitely see he's quite strategic as well. When it's these things, for whatever reason, when they put the show together, they miss. I don't think we'll probably ever understand it, but it is always a little bit disappointing, and I do always feel for the guys that go out there and don't get either some of their favourite moments shown, or if they just get a poor overall edit. It must really suck. So it must be. It's also really hard to understand as well, I think. And there was Ben, I guess it was another one this year, who for whatever reason you didn't see any of. And then when you did see stuff of Ben, it was all about how bad he was at challenges and all this kind of stuff. And I don't know why TV editors play that way, but unfortunately they do sometimes.
Exactly, yeah. It is what it is. I definitely know Jared was an amazing player, and I think it's a similarity between our games is that we were both quiet. We both never boasted about the stuff. We were a little bit like under the radar and subtle in a way in our gameplay. And I think potentially that doesn't translate into TV world amazingly.
At the end of the day, though, as a Survivor fan, you'd probably prefer to go further in the game than you would making a good TV show. Anyway, that's how I feel. I'm not sure if other people will say. This is true. That's how I feel.
Playing to win, playing not playing for TV.
Exactly
Definitely.
Exactly right. Now, another person you just mentioned as well in your comments was Locky. Now, yourself and Locky... Let's get into it. So you and Locky...
No, I'm joking.
You and Locky probably didn't have a similar relationship to you and Tessa did in the game. Probably weren't as close. And there were the GOAT comments. Tell us about all of that, because I know probably a bit more happened at that tribal than we actually saw on TV. And then I guess following that, how has your relationship been with Locky after the show has started to air?
Yeah, there's something I want to say is that I do understand why Locky thought I was a GOAT, and that's just because I never wanted to work with him. I worked with him at the start, and ironically the only time I ever felt like a GOAT was when I actually was working with him at the start. I just felt like I didn't have any control, whereas when I was working with the Summertail 5 and I was working with Annalise, when I was working with Michelle, I always felt like I had so much more control than I was playing my own game. But when I was working with Locky, it was very much his way. And
I didn't like that, and that's a big reason why I jumped ship. But Locky, it's funny because if I had just sat tight and followed Locky the whole game, he would have been like, Peter was a great player. Peter was a great player. But, you know, that's not the game I wanted to play. And I think having that experience early on, I just never wanted to work with him. I knew he was someone I just could not work with. So whenever Locky would try and kind of bring me in, I'd just be like, no, absolutely not. Like, he just knew I was so anti-Locky. And I think for someone who does have a little bit of an ego like Locky, a little gay guy who's just like, no, and not putting up with him and not giving him anything, I do think that's something that kind of grinded him the wrong way quite intensely, and he kind of took it out by calling me a goat. I do think it was an opinion that was quite confined to him, maybe Tara a little bit as well, simply because Tara did follow Locky quite heavily. But I knew there were people in the jury that even when Locky was calling me a goat, that didn't believe that and that didn't think that. And I heard that when Locky went in, was voted out, he tried to call me a goat, and Tessa would be like, oh, hell no. And Tessa would stand up for me. So, you know, it definitely was his opinion. And I can see why it was his opinion, because I tried to vote him out like 6 times. I was never ever going to try and work with him. He never, I think everyone else I would like try quite a bit more with strategizing, but with Locky, I was just like, this is never going to work. And I just did not try, because I just thought it was so ridiculous. I was like, there's no point. Yeah, he's not even going to, tried to vote you out 17 times. Done.
Well, the thing is, though, Peter, with looking at someone like Locky, if you were or wanting to play with someone like him, and as you said, he's probably got a bit of a big ego, and he's the stronger alpha male guy who probably likes people to follow him. You have to play as a goat if you want to work with him. So at the start, you said that you kind of maybe did. You would have had to, because if you tried to go in there and tried to take over, Locky isn't going to like that. You just know straight away.
Oh yeah, no. Yeah, no, definitely. If I had, one thing as well that led to me switching over is that he kind of came to me and was like, Peter, we got this tight 4, and Annalise thinks she's in, but she's not. She's on the outs. And then I was like, if he's telling me this, he's definitely told Annalise the exact same thing, except that Annalise is in the tight 4 and I'm on the outs. And I was like, no. I'm leaving. I don't like this arrangement. I am gone. So... yeah, Locky did kind of shoot himself in the foot a little bit as well. He very much let on that I couldn't trust him, and yeah, made my decision very easy. I also had kept really good relationships with everyone. I really liked Jared. I really liked AK. Me and AK, in the early few days, we had sat down. I think it was when people were all scared of him being a strategist, and we just had a really nice just chat about like love and life. And from that moment, I was like, if it comes to it, I know I can work with AK. I didn't really care that he was this big strategic player. I knew that if I wanted to, he was an option. And, I'd really liked Tessa as well. We got along. Even though these people were on the bottom, I never treated them badly ever. And I always kept my options open so that I could work with whoever I wanted to work with. And, working with Jared, Ziggy, Tessa, and AK, that they were people who I absolutely adored working with. I think it was a huge shock when Ziggy betrayed Tessa, and I was like, that was probably my biggest surprise. I just couldn't believe it had happened. But I do see why Ziggy did that as well.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned AK then, and you can tell why you guys had a good relationship. I remember in one of the first episodes, you saw a chat between you and him where he also mentioned he knows gay people on the outside as well, so you were bound to form a friendship.
Oh, he was so bad for that. I was like, did he really just use the word homosexual like that? Oh, I was just like, this guy's such a rookie.
It was like watching someone...
just like...
it was like watching someone trying to communicate with another human being for the first time ever. It was so uncomfortable.
I know. I was just like, no one uses the word homosexual anymore, but no. It's funny because we did become really good friends after a while, after I kind of got over the initial shock of AK playing so hard. He counts me and he was just like, Peter, you've got to have this one person in the game you can trust, and for me, that's you. And I'm like, AK, I was speaking to you for 3 minutes. Well, it was like 10, but like, it was just like, this is all too soon. It's too much too soon, AK.
He is such a player. He is such a player.
It's such a player. Such a funny guy as well.
Well, it's so funny to see the similarities between him and someone like Nick from our season. Both from Adelaide, both incredibly strategic, snake-like players. But just
All
a
the
lot of...
strategic things come from Adelaide. No,
They really do. They really do. Now,
They really do.
I think I know the answer to this question from what I'm hearing. But if you did, I guess, get the chance to play the game again, would you change your game at all? Would you go out there, I guess, with the same strategy?
I think I would change it a little bit. Something about my game that I think was my weakness was once people had betrayed me, like Ziggy, even Luke, and, a few other people, I guess, I was very hesitant to work with them again. And I think sometimes I had to try and leave that at the door. That's why I navigated myself from a point of necessity. I just could not bring myself to trust anyone. And maybe it was a good thing. Maybe it was actually a strength, but I also feel like it's something that potentially could have worked against me had things gone differently. I think it can be a strength, but I also think I should have been maybe a little bit more open-minded about working with people who had betrayed me more readily. But, I did do that. Like with the Henry Blindside, I came together with Luke and, on that reward, a big part of what Tess had been saying was, no, Peter's with me. He will work with you, because Luke just never thought I would work with him after that. Yeah. And that all came together. And then Luke brought out Tess, and I was like, no way, Luke, not trusting you anymore. So, yeah, maybe being a little bit more open-minded about that would have been good for my game.
I think anyone that plays and makes it to top 3, though, I think their strategy must be pretty sound for them to get that far. That's how I've always kind of seen it, I think, that to get that far, especially in a game of 55 days, it is not easy. And I think you'll be one of the few to understand how difficult it is for actually making it as far as you did. Now, one of the moments that I loved particularly, but I think almost everyone else did in your game particularly, was when you guys got your letters from home. And your letter came from your dad. And I'll be honest, Peter, I was in absolute tears on the couch watching
Aww.
How
Shucks.
was that moment? How was the moment watching it back? And then, I guess, how's your relationship with your parents, and particularly your dad, since you've returned from the game?
Yeah, that moment was amazing. Like, I don't think I expected Survivor to do wonders for my relationship with my dad, but it really did. And even coming back home now, he's like a lot more accepting. He's a lot more open to me being gay. He, I don't like shove it in his face and like fly the rainbow. But I just dance around the house a lot, and he's really cool with everything. Even like when I had some friends over, I can kind of like have some gay friends over a bit more, and he's a little bit more relaxed with it. He doesn't get as kind of cramped up, and he really makes a big effort. He always made a bit of an effort, but he makes like a big effort, and it's done wonders for our relationship. He's been amazing. Love him.
Oh, good. And then also since the game, you've started to use your voice, I guess, a little bit, and the fans you've now got from the show itself to be a bit of an advocate for marriage equality as well.
Yeah, please vote yes for marriage equality.
I hope that every single person listening to this has. If they haven't, you feel free to tune off now. That's totally fine.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Mean the world to us gays.
It would mean a lot for all of us, I think, personally. But how great has that opportunity been for you, and how much support has this piled in as well?
I've loved it. I wrote something for HuffPost. I wrote something for Pop Sugar Pride. I wrote something for Mamma Mia. Yeah, I've absolutely loved it. I love writing. I did a journalism degree at UTF, so being able to kind of leverage any connections I have to kind of, support marriage equality, I think, does a lot of good for the whole world. And, maybe Survivor's just a bit of fame for a little while, but if I can leverage that and, be a bit of a voice for marriage equality, well, if that passes, that kind of lasts forever. So that would be lovely. Please get on board. Please support marriage equality. It means the world to the gay community, and we are cool people, so please love us.
I will make sure I post all your articles and stuff in this link as well, so everyone can have a read. Everyone can vote yes. Everyone can get to know a little bit more about you and what you're passionate about as well. I hope you're proud.
Thank you.
I hope you're proud of the game you played. It's been absolutely incredible chatting to you and hearing all about it. I know at some point Nick will probably do some stuff with RHAP as well and go really in depth.
Amazing. That'll be perfect.
Good, but it's been an absolute pleasure, Pete. Thanks so much for joining me, mate, and we will no doubt chat to you really soon.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me, Matt. Really appreciate the chat.
Cheers, mate.
Guys, I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Peter as much as I enjoyed doing it. Be sure to like me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, subscribe to me on YouTube, all that kind of stuff. So when I post these videos or ask questions about them, you're the first to know as well. There'll be a few more videos coming over the next few weeks, so make sure to check those out. But until then, guys, I'll see you soon.